co-host Heidi. Heidi, how you doing today?
I am great. We are back. I think we took a little break in between there and we're back now.
Well, the World Series broke us. We had to break for the World Series. I guess the floor is not as important as the World Series, although I would say it's better at this point. I didn't watch a one baseball game this year, so I would probably say the floor is better in my opinion.
Mhm.
And we're on episode 6, and we have Angie in the house for all you Angie lovers out there
Hello,
under
everybody.
the age of 20, because I she called me out last time she was on here for starting a rumor that she. Oh my gosh, I showed that to everyone, Angie. I'm like, look at how she called me out, and Claire goes, she keeps receipts. Like she don't know. She come right on Corey. We got Corey here today. If you don't know Corey, you saw him in this episode, and
Big arm, Corey.
yeah. Oh God, I wish I had those arms, man. I got big gut. That's what I got. But Corey, Angie came on with receipts. I mean, she was blasting me from jump. So I've never said anything bad about you, Corey. You could beat me up, and I don't like that. Angie beat me up verbally. I never said anything bad about you, Corey. So can't you?
Don't worry.
Good.
Uh,
It's good to have you.
so we are going to do the floor recap episode 6. Brad, can you believe it has been 6 episodes? I can't.
I can't either. Like we're on episode 6. We're halfway to $250,000. Yes.
I can't believe it either.
It's
It's
flying
going
by.
too fast and too
Angie.
slow all at once.
Angie is in it to win it. I will say that.
I think you are too.
I'm a
You
little.
and everyone else, you've been talking to my family, my neighbors, everybody. But after Corey's run on episode 5, there's a whole different narrative out there. Corey's going to take it. Corey's gunning for Star Wars. Corey's running the game. He's running the floor. So the momentum was all yours, Corey, for this week going into everything. That was pretty exciting to see you have your moment.
Yeah. We'll get to
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah, there's moments I want to talk about in this episode for sure. There's a lot of moments. But yeah, Heidi, our show is Reality Check, but for the last 6 weeks, it's been the floor recap. But it's been fun, and we're guaranteed a season 3. So and Corey, if you've ever listened to any of our episodes, which I hope you have, because we have floor listeners, which is really cool. I have pitched many ideas about how to even make this better. I constantly think about how can we make greater. That's where my mind goes, Corey. So
I ideas percolating. I want to see new versus returning. 50v50. I want to see you come back and do the category you got eliminated on. It's percolating.
I like it.
I'm sending our producers the notes. I'm like, come on, let's do this.
I like it.
I want to see trapdoor, Corey. I'm going for trapdoor. I want when Angie loses, I want the door to go. Hopefully she doesn't lose. When she loses, I want her to go woo, and then we don't hear from Angie, and then it's like there she goes.
I was so funny when they would just through the floor.
I always said that was like remote control, that MTV show from back in the day.
That's what I want to see. Angie's like, I hate you, Brad.
No,
So Heidi, we're on episode 6 now. Why don't you break us into this episode? Like take us into where we're at.
Absolutely. So we have Kara with the most territories from the beginning of the show. I believe she has 14, and she's won money for a few weeks now, right? She actually has musical instruments, and spoiler alert, she will come, and that category will come later in the discussions of this particular episode. So I'm excited to see that. And before we start going from when we had 9 floor duels this time, so I'm excited to talk about all the details and get all the scoops from Corey and Angie. But Corey, before we start going deep into each of the duels, I want to get to know you. Tell us where you live, what you do in real life, and a little bit anything you want to share with us just to get to know you.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. I'm super excited to be here. I am so do a really quick Reader's Digest version, I guess. I'm from Arizona originally, so that it was in the episode you saw Arizona, but I currently live in Los Angeles, and I work in software. So I teach lawyers and government agents how to use their case management software. I build it out for them, and then I kind of teach them how to use it. And that's the day to day. I'm a
I work
huge
in software too, so
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm a
yes.
huge geek. As you can see behind me, I have all of my Funko Pops of my Marvel characters. You heard on an earlier interview clip that I was coming for Star Wars. We could talk about that and what happened there.
I cannot
Uh,
wait.
yeah, but no, I love I love trivia, obviously being on the show, but I'm just a huge pop culture junkie. So yeah, huge Survivor fan also. So that's love that I'm here with you. That's I'm geeking out a little bit about that. But yeah, no, just yeah, that's. I mean, I'm a pretty simple person. I have my backstory is very wild, and anything you want to know, I'm open to talk about. But it's like a roller coaster. Like there's so many things that I shared some things on the show. I shared some things with other contestants. But I had an amazing time, and I'm excited to be here with you.
We are excited to have you. Go ahead, Brad.
I was just gonna say, Heidi, my dream is a year from now we have someone come on, and they go, Brad, I've always just wanted to talk to you, and now it's here. It's now it's
I'll
here.
leave that part out. I'm so
You did
sorry.
leave that part out, Corey. You're like, I'm glad I'm here with Angie. I'm glad I'm here with Heidi. Not so much you, Brad. I
I
really
must
am.
have somehow. Maybe my mic cut out while I was saying. I'm so sorry.
That's what it did. Angie muted your mic. That's what happened. She didn't want me to get a big head over here. So
Uh, you, you know, my first impression, Corey, and we've never talked before until now. I felt the same with Angie when I had Angie, and we had Angie a few episodes back. I was like, oh, I relate so much with Angie. I feel like I relate so much with you too. The software, the nerdiness, whatever. Like coming from different backgrounds, maybe I don't know your background, like, but I remember the little clips. I also felt like I was an underdog growing up, and all of a sudden you start growing and becoming someone. So it's awesome to meet you, and I cannot wait to dig into your stories.
Oh, no, that
yes.
means so much. This whole experience has just been a whirlwind. Getting to meet the other 99 contestants, and yeah, one really quick thing, if you don't mind me doing, I'm sure
Please.
other guests have done this. I have to give a shout out to the crew. Um, Especially, I mean, there's too many people to name, but Jen Livingood and just her team and everyone that helped us make production happen. Like honestly, the best people I have ever met, and they were so caring and so kind. And I don't know if they'll ever hear this, but like we just love them so much. And I just I have to say that because I think the people behind the camera too often go unnoticed, and it's just so important that people know just how amazing all of them are. So have to give
Absolutely.
that shout out.
Thank you so much for sharing. Angie, where have you been in the last few weeks? We haven't heard that much about you, but we see you every time. They always show you in some way there.
Yeah, they show me like this mama bird beaming over the babies in the nest. It's like this weird look, and it's kind of creepy. And I'm just doing this for everybody. I'm throwing my hearts out to everybody. I was so happy to watch all the people I'd grown to care about in such a short amount of time have these moments and just like sit back and just absorb everything. But yeah, I'm still standing. That was like, one of our theme songs on the floor. And, we're just going to have to wait and see if how I pop back up. I don't know.
We're cheering for you. There's a lot of favorites, but you're definitely one of them.
She made
Angie's
a choice to go
Angie's
back to the
definitely
floor with a time boost, and other people didn't make that choice. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Angie's one of my favorites, Corey, and one because she likes to come on our show, and two, I famously said in the first episode, this Angie lady will be gone week 2, and she let me she reminded me of that, and she's still there. And I saw you like walking around tonight, like I watched it today, and I saw you like walking the floor, and like it is pretty cool. Like you're near the middle, right? Aren't you near Cara? You're near Cara, right?
Yeah. I'm near almost everybody now. I'm kind of my friends on that side called me the wall because I was like protecting like those 4 squares, like nobody would come at me. So they're all just having a party because they're like, well, nobody's touching us till they get through Angie, so we'll just hang out. And Kara is super happy to kind of keep her spot. You'll see, the beginning of episode 6, she's really carved out that wall there for herself, and we're touching each other, but she decided not to come at me, and that was fine. I was, just
I want to say, Angie and Heidi and Corey, that the periodic table guy, the guy that's at the periodic table, he's getting a little, he's got a little comments. He's like the guys. He's like one of the guys in the Muppets, Waldorf, and he's sitting there. He's talking. He's chirping, and I'm like, we really haven't seen you do much yet. So like, I don't want to chirp till I've beaten somebody. Then I can be like, yeah, probably a really nice guy. I wouldn't challenge him on periodic tables.
You want a duel?
He is cool.
No, he won a duel.
Oh, he did win a duel. Yes, he did win a duel. Okay, so he has won a duel.
That's
but you noticed him doing chirping tonight, right? You did see that. Like, he's like,
He was talking.
yeah, he's talking a little junk. And I'm like, I kind of like this, but then I don't know. Maybe I just don't have the confidence. But yeah.
Angie, remind us which is your category now? Which category are you sitting
I'm
on
my
right now?
category. So right now, halfway through, just finished episode 6. I still have my original category.
Oh my
I
God.
have the time boost. I'm next to Mina. I'm next to who else am I next to?
Are you next to Megan? Are you close to?
Behind British Invasion? I'm behind
Okay.
Nick, and I'm next to.
You're touching David or no?
No, David. No, David is at the corner behind me. He's behind me.
I'm gonna start that rumor.
There was a whole
Now,
river.
you know what, Brad started a rumor about me and Andrew. Now you're starting a rumor about me and David. It's like, it's just too much right now. It's like
There
I don't know.
was the River Cara between us, so I just couldn't.
The River Cara is between us.
The River Cara was like literally dividing us.
For sure.
But
So, yeah,
Angie, I feel like you're in a pretty good position because you got a lot of screen time at the beginning. We all got to know you. We love you for it. And then you're like, I'm hiding. And then let other people get all the titles they want because I will come at the end. You wait for it. So I'm loving seeing that, So
the best laid plans. I'm just hanging out, and much to the chagrin of friends and family who text every Wednesday night and go, "Oh, no, Andy, womp womp, sad face emoji," and I'm like, guys, I'm still there. I'm just, I can't do anything until somebody comes at me. So
Yeah, I don't want to see you, Angie. I want you to win this thing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I don't see you. And the same with Megan. Like, I thought for sure Vegas was going to get challenged tonight. I'm like, she's going to go Vegas.
Yeah, I thought for sure Mia would take Spiro. I mean, we'll talk about that as we go, but then I thought she might make her way over to Vegas because everybody in that corner is all talking about how much they love Vegas and Vegas this and Vegas that. I thought for sure Megan would be vulnerable. I guess we'll find out as we talk through the episode.
Heidi, my dream is we have Angie versus Mina or Megan in the finale. And I'll be like, that's a total reality check team right there. Yeah, that's my dream. If I had one dying wish, it'd be that. That'd be my dying, not to see my family, but to make sure I see that on the floor before I croak. That's what I want.
All right,
so maybe the three of us will fly to Minnesota and we'll just reenact.
Oh, that would be the best if we did a live floor trivia contest.
Yes, a live podcast from Brad's front porch. With I'll call Rob. I'll see if he's available. I'm teasing, okay, but
yeah, that would be hilarious. You don't need Rob. You got Brad Lowe. You don't need Rob Lowe. Anyway, Heidi, let's get with this now.
Let's go. All right, duel number 1. And Corey, were you there? How about that? You had a time boost when we had the first one. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I made my way. I won my category against Grace, who challenged me in coming of age movies
Last week.
Yeah.
Well,
last
2
week.
weeks ago, I guess.
Yeah. And
She didn't know Stand By Me, right? She didn't know Stand By Me.
I didn't know St. Elmo's Fire, and I mean Rob wanted to disassociate with me at that point. I told myself my strategy going in was if I saw an image and I couldn't instantaneously recall
Pass.
what it was a pass. And when St. Elmo's Fire came on and there were like 7 characters on the screen, I was like, I don't have time to figure this out. It's a pass. And so yeah, I one coming of age. I went through Wrestlers, Carnival Foods, and then we opened the show with, what am I gonna do? What's my next move with my time boost?
So what went through your mind? Do you want to stay there? Like, I mean, clearly we know what happened, but tell us what went through your mind before you made the choice.
For sure. Yeah. So the first thing that I had to consider was Kara. Kara was right next to me, touching me, had opportunity for $20,000. The only reason why I didn't go, so I was open with Kara. Like, we talked a lot in between production, and I told her, I want to take you on. Like, I think that would be a really cool duel. If she still had compound words, 100%. I am an former English major. Like, I would have happened. Right. I would have done compound words. My fear with taking her on was she had musical instruments and we had not had an audio duel yet. And to be in a situation to be the first person to take on an audio duel, I respect what happened in this episode and how that played out, but I was not gonna do that. I was not gonna do.
Did you all know it was an audio duel beforehand?
Yeah, they told us there were two. Yeah, there were 2 audio duels, and they told us what they were. And so I knew that Kara's was an audio duel, and I was like, not for me. I don't know how it's gonna play out. I don't know what to expect. I don't want to take a risk.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm gonna go the other way because I know Wrestlers and I know Carnival Foods and I know fitness, and so my thing was I wanted to keep playing because I was so close to being in the lead for the most floor space.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have played conservatively and gone back to the floor. And I think a lot of people, have said like that was the smart move. But I mean, at the end of the day, only one person walks away with $250,000. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy the experience. I want to take risks. I respect Angie for her decision. That was her decision. For me, I was only going to go back to the floor if I was in the lead for 20K with a time boost. Those 2 things had to be happening for me to go back to the floor and to wait it out. And thankfully, I inherited Pop Stars, and I was like so ready to defend Pop Stars. So if I had, gone back to the floor, I felt so comfortable with that. But I wanted to keep playing, and fitness was right there. And I'm a bit of a gym geek. Like I love the gym. I'm there 3 hours a day, 7 days a week. No joke. I'm not being dramatic.
Oh my gosh.
So for the listeners, right? So Corey picked Melissa, who had fitness, and you made a comment that you lost 100 pounds. Is that right? Tell us more about this.
Yeah, I've actually since we filmed the show, I've actually lost like I think 25 extra pounds. But maybe like 20. I don't know. It fluctuates. But I started at about 330 pounds, and I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. I was pre-diabetic. I have sleep apnea. It was not good long term, the situation that I was in, and my doctor was like, these are your options, like lose weight or be on medication for the rest of your life. And those are kind of the options. And so I made a commitment to myself, and so over the last year I'm now at about 207. So like I said, it fluctuates a little, but
that's incredible.
Really happy to be. Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy to be where I am, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, the aesthetics are nice. I like looking good, objectively speaking, but I also it's health. Like
you're
really
healthy.
Take care of my future.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That speaks so much about your character, so that's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah. So Corey, tell us, instead of me or Brad or Angie telling the audience what happened, tell us what happened in that one. Tell the audience what happened.
Yeah, Melissa wiped the floor with me. she kicked my butt. I had such a good time dueling Melissa. It was one of the best duels. Neither of us passed on a single image. We both like put everything on the floor, no pun intended. And at the end of the day, I got tripped up on a couple that I knew, and I just couldn't get the words out fast enough. And she could. And I had a time boost. I had an extra 5 seconds, and she still like took me out. So Melissa knows her stuff. She's a fierce competitor, and she's the first person to take someone out with the time, like using their time boost, so
Yeah.
she can hold that trophy. So yeah, and especially she opened up about why she was there and why she was playing. And if I was gonna lose, I'm glad it was to Melissa. She was so great, and we still talk. All of us still talk, and yeah, so no hard feelings. Wasn't my favorite moment on the floor, but it was a great duel, and I'm so glad that I had that experience.
I gotta say, I would not have known those socks, Corey. With the picture of the socks, I was like, I don't get that. They're socks to me. What are they? What do they call them? Threaded socks? Is that what was it?
So I said threaded socks, and they gave it to me. The proper thing was treaded socks, and they've been called grip socks. The thing is, I don't do Pilates. I do yoga. You don't usually wear socks in yoga because most of the time, I mean, you can wear grip socks if you want to, but your mat, you want to be kind of have a good positioning. So socks are usually not something you do. I just don't wear grip socks, and I just never thought that threaded socks, whatever they were called, I never thought that would come up in fitness. And so when I saw it, I was like, socks, like workout socks, like what do you want from me here?
Yeah, they were really reaching, I think, at the bottom of the barrel toward the end. And I think we're seeing that happen in more categories when competitors are really prepped and they're fast. And we know they've got to have a minimum of 50 just logistically to get through. But I think when you're digging deep like that, they're just pulling everything out. I mean, the towel bin, for crying out loud. The laundry bin, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like I said, I got tripped up on a couple of those. Elastic.
But then they had showers, and I was like, okay, that's a shower.
I kept saying grip socks. I wonder if I would have said grip socks if they would have not counted that, or if I had to, because threaded socks, I would have never said that in my life.
Yeah, I don't, Angie. We're not privy to what they do in terms of accepting answers, so I don't know. I don't know, like if they theoretically they could have a list, and if you say one of the 4 things on the list, they give it to you. I don't know, but if I hadn't have gotten threaded socks, my time would have been out. Like I wouldn't have even made it to the next image because I was never going to pull grip socks out of my that just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask this, but when you brought up the first musical one, where the listening one, what would they do if you're deaf? Because you could be deaf and be on this show, I suppose. What would they do if you couldn't hear? Like you get stuck on that. It's like, I mean, I just wonder that.
Good question. I want to say I do find it interesting that I believe the show format was purchased by over a dozen different countries, and there are many iterations of the floor around the world. And in at least 2 I'm aware of, Ukraine and France, 3. There's another one in the Middle East. I can't remember which country, but they had people in wheelchairs. They had people with disabilities competing. I did find it interesting that we didn't have a person with disabilities, at least not obvious disabilities in a physical limiting sense or mobility issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I do wonder about that. Obviously sight impairment, hearing impairment would be a burden, but I'm sure they, in the same way they screen for other things, they ask for full disclosure of your medical and health history, conditions that might keep you from competing on the show.
That's right.
Everybody who revealed
and I have to imagine there are backup categories. So if there was somebody that disclosed something like that, I'm sure they would say, okay, we're going to hold and not use this category. We'll give somebody, they might be the expert in, the next thing on their list.
I know multiple people though with color blindness, and that would be a hard one even for the visual ones. So you have to imagine, right? Like there's a lot of different disabilities and different conditions out there that could be hard even for the visual ones. So I don't know, maybe you have to disclose it, but I don't know if they color blindness one, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know, that's an interesting one. Maybe
I could see blind not working on this show because you got to be able to see photos.
Yeah.
But audio, I think you could do this game without audio. That's the great thing about it. You don't need audio. And we're going to get to the car, I think, because I want to talk about that when we get there.
Okay. Well, so Corey, we're sad to see you go, but we're also excited you're joining us in your exit one. So super happy that you're part of the family, and for sure, especially last episode was a really good one for you. So glad that you were part of I guess glad you were part of season 2 of The Floor. So
Yeah, no, thank
Yeah.
you. I had a great time. Again, I had two major goals going. Well, I mean, $250,000 is always the goal, right? Like that's the first goal. But the two things that I wanted to do was I did not want to go home day one, episode one. That I was like, I can please, like, if the randomizer comes to me, like, please don't let me go home episode one. Like, that was goal number one. And goal number two was win my expert category. And I did both of those things. I checked them both off the list, and everything after that was just a fun ride. So I'm leaving very satisfied. It would have been great to win some money, Angie, but it's okay.
all right, I'm moving on
So-
to number 2. Or do you have a question? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what was number 2, Heidi?
Number 2 was Melissa stayed on the podium to do a second duel, and she went for Anand, which his category was American inventions, and that was quite an interesting one. And I'll jump on it. Typically, I ask people, but I put a comment here that says that was really who can name the picture the fastest. Because it was like bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
And it was easy. It was an easy one, just like recognizing the picture. But what are your thoughts on that one? And I'll open it up for anyone who wants to say anything about this one.
They showed an iPhone.
Yeah,
They did.
yeah. It was, I think you're right. I think we see a lot of what you might just call more elementary categories. And again, I think that speaks to why the show's so popular in the country, is because it really is a show for everyone. It's a show for families. It's a show for people with all levels of knowledge. Kids can be at home shouting school supplies. Kids can shout back at the inventions category. It's not so highbrow and exclusive that you're cutting out an audience. And I think sometimes it's going to be maybe boring, frustrating, like, eye rolling for people to watch some of those battles and be like, really? This is going to make somebody money? But I think, again, they're trying to reach as wide of an audience as they can. And I think that's what gives it some heart and some fun and just some general pluckiness to it. But it absolutely was name the image as fast as you can. And some of those were not American inventions. So somebody like me.
That's the game, right? Like, the game is name the picture of as fast as you can. And
Yeah.
To your point, Angie, like my sister sent me a video of my 7-year-old nephew doing the ocean animals, the Tommy Grace duel.
Yeah.
And he was like knocking them out, and I was like so proud to see him participate in that. And
That's
like,
so cool.
yeah, I mean, he was loving it. They were watching to see me play, but he was getting into it. He was like naming there were ones I definitely didn't know that he knew, so I was like, wow.
Yeah, I think it's really neat. It
I-
kind
I-
of democratizes it, everybody can play. I think that's really good.
I think that if people, this audience is amazing. This show is so amazing. And, I co-host a show on this network that makes fun of bad movies. And we talk about Tubi all the time on there. Tubi is a wide variety of crap movies. But they have one good thing on there. They have The Floor season 2. So if you don't have television and you don't have Hulu, you can go on Tubi for free and watch every episode of season 2 as it drops. So I just want to drop that little nugget in here. It's got some good stuff.
YouTube also has it,
Oh,
within hours. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, YouTube has it too. Yeah.
I don't know if that one's official.
Plugging one over the other, and then-
That one might not be official, Angie. That might be Corey recording it on his iPhone and dropping it.
All
or
right.
Drew.
So moving on, something interesting about, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correct or not. Apologies, Anand. Is that
Anand.
okay? He
Anand.
said he was a PM and a DJ. Fun fact: I love that he was a DJ. He killed it. He did really well. Went fast. Were you gonna say something, Brad?
No, I'm just listening to you.
Okay. So he actually bit Melissa and stuck around there, and he said, "You know what? I'm gonna stay here," which shocked me. And he picked Mac. And Mac had he inherited Pop Stars. So
Well,
any
No,
Go
he did,
Mac,
he did that after. So Pop Stars was mine, which went to Melissa.
tell me more. How did he get that one?
Yeah, so Pop Stars was mine because I got that from Grace when I beat her in Coming of Age. So Pop Stars was just the hand me down that everyone kind of got. So it went from me to Melissa to Anand to Mac.
Okay.
'Cause Mac had Star Wars, which was where I was headed. That was my whole strategy, was to use my time boost on fitness, win Star Wars.
So I'll take it back. Thank you for
Yeah.
the clarification. So that meant Mac had Star Wars, and
Yeah.
then after spoiler alert, Mac won this one. That was Star Wars, and I wrote down here. I guess I was so amazed by that one, so I wrote amazing. I didn't write the category, but that was amazing. That was a really great. The Star Wars one was amazing. Go ahead, Brad.
It was a great duel, but Pop Stars was at the end of the show, right?
Well,
Correct.
Popstar was the one that he inherited after he beat Anand for the for.
But that was the last duel, right?
yes,
Pop
that's
Stars.
the next one we'll
Okay,
get.
but I don't want to get there yet. But Star Wars, I probably could have answered Heidi 30% of those questions.
Oh,
I-
my boyfriend filmed me doing it live, and I'm not gonna say I would have beat Mac, but I will say I did not miss any.
Wow.
I don't think they didn't miss any except the last one. They didn't
Right.
pass until
Well,
the end. Except the
yeah.
Alderaan, but then Mac was like, Alderaan, it blew up. Like that
I
doesn't
give
count.
I give Anand a hard time for the Boba Fett because I was like, it took you way too long on Boba Fett.
Come on! I mean,
And then-
He said Mandalorian, right? He said Mandalorian.
Mandalorian. Yeah, it doesn't look that different, but it's like green with like I was like, come
Yeah.
on, Boba Fett. That's like one of our favorites. So yeah.
Yeah.
But the last one, I had no idea who that was until I read the
Oh,
the name.
Holdo.
I was like,
We're all just like,
Laura
"Lord,
Dern, the Holdo maneuver.
You got to be deep into Star Wars for this. Now,
I think
Corey,
Like-
here's my relationship with Star Wars. I went to see the Phantom Menace when it came out in the theater, and then I felt like I had to complete it. So then I went and saw Attack of the Clones. People were dressed up. I'm like, this movie sucks. Sorry, Corey. And then I had to finish it with Revenge of the Sith, which was a little better. But then I'm like, I've invested this. Now I got to start the whole new trilogy. I quit on the TV shows. I'm like, look, I've watched all the movies. I'm not watching the TV shows. That's my rule.
You have to watch Andor if nothing else. Andor is
I like Mandalorian though.
Mandalorian.
Andor's-
I love Mandalorian. I do.
Andor's off of Rogue One, right?
Correct. Yeah. Which
My favorite one. That's
I
my
was gonna
favorite
say,
one.
Controversial opinion. Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie.
I love
Corey,
it.
you and I both, we love it. That's my favorite one.
I don't know if it's my favorite, but I love it.
Controversial, but
Heidi, you should just
See,
say
I
it's
know
your
all the-
favorite to match us.
My favorite.
the drive-in movies, the drive-in in the 70s and the 80s with like Empire Strikes Back, like the original, like the old school. Like that's the one I grew up with. That was like my coming of age Star Wars. And now I'm having to catch up with all this new Disney stuff and the franchising and the
you were there. You were there when people saw it as Star Wars. It's not Star Wars. Like the original fans don't like the Disney era, which is unfortunate. But I
know
love
Disney-
all Star Wars. I love it all. I even find redeemable things in Episode 9. I will be the first to say it. It's not my favorite, but I
You
can
have to.
find
Can we
things
all
to
agree? Can we all agree that Jar Jar Binks is just bad? Can we just agree with that? Like just seeing Jar Jar Binks in that duel last night show up on the screen was so triggering. Like for an hour, I was going "Weasel, Jar Jar Binks" in my head, and I'm like, no, I thought I'd forgotten that years ago.
Well, I was gonna. I had this whole thing planned out that if I got through Melissa, and the millions of what ifs, Rob would have asked me, "What are you gonna do now? Are you gonna go back? Are you gonna play?" And I would have turned right to Mac, and I would have said, "Ready to do Star Wars? I am."
Oh, that would have been. I was gonna ask Angie if she'll do another episode of the floor recap as Jar Jar Binks. We can just introduce her as Jar Jar Binks. Jacob in the chat says this: Jar Jar is the Sith Lord. Is that true? I don't know. Is he a Sith Lord?
There's a lot of fanfic, and then in a recent, I want to say it was a recent Lego game that is non-canon, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, they made him Darth Jar Jar.
Oh my gosh!
I think it's non-canon. I think it's like outside of what's official. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the comments. But yeah, I mean, it's Jar Jar. It was for kids, but I will say Ahmed Best, and I could talk Star Wars all night, and I know we need to move on. Ahmed Best, who voiced Jar Jar, got to have his redeeming Star Wars moment and be the Jedi who saved Grogu from the Jedi Temple when they were attacking. So.
By the way, when Grogu came in the duel, I was like, "Baby Yoda, come on!" And I'm like, "Oh, I would have been there half an hour just saying Baby Yoda because
Dave Filoni would have been shaking his head somewhere out in the universe. He would have been so mad at you."
Corey, if Heidi and I were in Star Wars, she would be C-3PO and I would be R2-D2. That would be what we would do.
I feel like Heidi's giving BB-8. I gotta say.
I love BB-8.
She would be BB-8. I would be R2-D2. We just go around going beep 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 beep.
If I was in my office, I will show you that I have like 3 different sizes of BB-8 robots because I love BB-8. So that's a compliment.
Love that.
I love the category this season. There's so many people who wanted to do that. It was probably the most popular in terms of what people wanted. I know Tim was gunning for it. I know Danny, whose Halloween movies, was like, "Oh, I wanted Star Wars so bad." It's like people were just couldn't wait, and that was really fun to see. Like, well, who's going to get to do it? And I know Mac felt like there's this target on his back, and
I was so close.
You were
Yeah.
close.
But that duel, I personally loved it. I thought they were great, and that's when Mac inherited Popstar. So I got corrected by Corey. So I'm so glad you were here. And that's how Popstars kept moving down from person to person, and then they finally got it there. All right, I'm moving on. So then we're going to the 4th duel, and Mac stayed up there, and he picked Carlos for weather. Thoughts about it? Corey, I'll let you go first. Any thoughts on well, actually, Corey, it's so interesting because you watched this just like we did. You weren't there. So what are your thoughts about that one?
Yeah, so Carlos was my neighbor. He was, the two of us were right next to each other for the first, 6 weeks of the show. And I wanted to take him on, I'm not gonna lie. But Carlos, like, he knew his stuff, and there's a lot of stuff online about a seismograph and whether or not that's weather because earthquakes aren't weather, and did he lose time when he shouldn't have, and whatever. But that was another back and forth ping pong. I don't think anyone didn't do a good job. I think they were both, they were super knowledgeable and knew their stuff. And I was studying weather like crazy. I was like, okay, I need to be able to recognize like a cumulonimbus versus a stratus cloud. Like that's what I was doing because Carlos was right next to me and could get randomized, or I could get randomized. And I was like, I need to know this. So I was like, who are famous like weather people? Like I was studying so much weather related things that I probably didn't need, but it is what it is. I thought it was a really good duel. I love that it was back and forth.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Mac was really solid because he did this one plus the Star Wars one, right? So he was on a roll, and he decided to stay on because he killed it. And then he went for Landis because that was, and for me for a second I was like, go back to the floor, but that would have been. That one, was actually the 3rd in a row. So I could understand why he stayed there to go for that 3rd one. And he picked Landis, who had blockbuster movies. And Brad, I'm going to come to you because I know this is your kind of category. How did you do on that one, Brad? Just
I missed a couple, Heidi. I really did.
Which one?
I'm trying to remember. There's a couple that I knew that they didn't know. For one, he was terrible.
Landis choked. I feel like he probably was better than what he did. He probably just got the nervousness got to him. That's my impression, at least. But yeah, Landis. Yeah, go ahead, Angie.
He inherited that too, so that was not his original. And I don't think, depending on his priorities, not everybody studied or crammed once things got started. I know I didn't. I just kind of was going with the flow of things.
And I would
study for it very well.
I would add to that, Angie. I don't remember what was the category that was up in front of you. Was it action films?
Action films was up there. It was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think when people think blockbuster, they think like big explosions. They think like the summer flick that dominates the action category. And so if I was Landis, I would have been studying Transformers. I would have been studying like that kind of stuff. And so when you see Bridesmaids,
I love Bridesmaids.
Oh, I knew that one.
Huge Bridesmaids fan over here. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think blockbuster when I think Bridesmaids. But you have to conceptualize what is a blockbuster. It's something like box office wise, popularity. I mean, Bridesmaids, of course. I mean, The Bodyguard. I wouldn't have thought The Bodyguard.
Really?
Oh, I knew The Bodyguard.
Not that I didn't
like Pretty
know
Woman,
it.
Pretty Woman, The Bodyguard.
Pretty Woman.
He didn't know Pretty Woman. I was like, oh my gosh, how does he not know that, Corey?
Well, it's not that we don't know. It's just I wouldn't think blockbuster category. So if I saw it, of course it would take me a second. I might be like, wait, and I would have to like.
It's also generational, right? I mean, Pretty Woman came out, I think, in 1989. I think Bodyguard was just a few years after. Landis is probably in his 30s. I mean, he would not have seen it when it was a big blockbuster, and he probably wouldn't have seen it later. So I don't even think it was in his
lexicon
recollection.
What were some of the other ones? I'm trying to remember.
Top Gun Maverick. Max.
I knew that one.
That one. Love you, Mac. If you're listening, I was like, Mac, Top Gun Maverick. You skipped that? Come on.
Yeah.
Now, and that's a recent one too. That's a more recent one. I love that movie.
He should have known that one.
For the record,
what was the one that he guessed Ghost? But it was another white man.
That was Bodyguard.
Bodyguard, yeah.
He said Ghost, and I was like, oh no.
He got Costner mixed up with Swayze. I was like, whoa.
And
Whitney mixed up with
Whitney Houston.
With Demi Moore.
Or Whoopi Goldberg, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, gosh. I don't think Whitney would like to be mistaken for Whoopi. I don't think that wouldn't have been good because Whitney was very pretty.
That just reminds me how much I love Ghost.
That was the very last one. They didn't get to say it though, right? Because I was like, Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I thought when they announced this category, I was like, yeah, Heidi's definitely going Brad. This is Brad's wheelhouse because I love movies.
Yeah.
But I think I would have beat him on this. I think I could have beat him just with.
I put Gravity. Gravity was another one you missed.
Oh, that
I didn't know that one. I didn't know that one.
With Sandy Bullock in there, yeah.
Brad,
With
how did
Sandra
you
Bullock?
feel? How did you feel about coming of age?
I knew almost all of those too. What I do, Corey, this is my move. When I see the category, I start trying to name what they're going to show. I look at my wife and I go, they're going to show Stand By Me. They're going to show Chariots of Fire. And then they start showing it and I feel like I'm amazing. So I would have won that. But they had stuff. I'm a different generation than you, though, because I'm 45 and you're probably, what, 30?
34.
Yeah. See, you're a lot younger. I could have picked the older movies. It's some of the new ones I get stumped on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Mac did a good job. Obviously, he won and got the time boost, and yeah, can't fault him for that.
Yeah. So
The old time boost.
yeah. So after that, he went back to the floor, which I actually was proud of him. I was like, that's kind of how you do it. Let's go back to the floor, whatever. So then we had the randomizer and it chose Mia, and Mia went for Spiro, is that how you say his name? I talked about him last week, and I also was like, Mina, how do I say his name? And he had cooking, and poor Spiro lost concentration from the very first one and just couldn't think of the simplest ones. Any thoughts on that one, Angie? I'll go to you.
I think I love Spiro to death. I think Spiro had a really good game face after baseball. I think when he's like, "Hey, my wife's the best cook I know. Come at me, guys. I know enough to be dangerous." I mean, I think he has some charisma and some suave, and you're not sure how to handle him. Well, it's pretty clear his wife probably does most of the cooking, or he's short-circuited, like a lot of us can do in those situations. I thought his you could tell from the jump where he's just like, hey, I know that. Oh, no, I don't know that one pass. Okay, oh, no, I don't know that one either pass. And he was just like, oh no, Spiro. And I remember that side of the floor, because he was not far from me, just going, oh, bro, just come on. And he said he couldn't remember the Greek, or he knows it in Greek. I don't know. It was just bad. And poor Mia, she was just stuck there going, I've got this in the bag, and I want to be gracious, and I want to be composed, and I'm just watching this guy just kind of lose it. It reminded me a little of Andrew when he looked like he was going to throw up, and God bless him. I just thought he's really stressing, and I saw that in Spiro. But then I think Spiro was just along for the ride and just kind of.
I had one of those with Julianne, like with wrestling.
Right,
Yeah.
right, on the wrestling one. Absolutely, you saw that. You can see it, just like they're melting in front of you. It's
And I was like, Julianne, I can give you this one.
Yeah, Corey, you knew she didn't know anything about wrestling. That wasn't happening. It was.
Yeah. I had to go somewhere, and it was a category that was so known to me, and I was like, but I love Julianne. That's the thing. We all we make such like strong relationships that it's like when you have to take. I mean, that scene from Angie in episode 1, that people could say what they want. Like Angie, I mean, I felt it because I know what it's like when you have to take someone on that you've like gotten to know so well, and you're just like, what? I don't even know what I'm doing here.
I like her, but I feel like she's the luckiest floor player I've ever seen. Like she lucked her way into going against you in wrestling.
What did you say a couple of weeks ago? You said she fell into money.
She fell into that money, Corey. She didn't. I feel like she didn't know enough, but she ended up playing people that knew just a little less than her.
I loved the duel where both her and Angie, who's Julianne against when they both forgot it was their turn?
Heather.
Oh, hilarious!
Yeah,
and it's like
so
if it hadn't evened out, if it hadn't happened to both of them, it would have been so sad. But the fact that they both did it and it ended up evening out their time, I was like, okay, this is just good TV. I was like,
they just stared at each other, Corey. It's just like me and you just looking at each other, going, oh, "You're gonna do something?"
Yeah. And you couldn't tell them. Like you're like, I don't want to tell them because it's like she's losing the time. But come on.
So I would not want to do the cooking category. Here's why. My wife, what was it called? The cooking. It was cooking, right? Was it cooking?
Yeah.
My wife would hold this over me. She would be like, "You want people to think you know how to cook," and she would never let me forget this, Corey. She would constantly tell everyone, Brad lost in cooking, so he sucks at cooking. That would be the rule. That's why I would not want to do it, because I don't give my wife ammo to fire back at me around friends.
I don't want to show my face in the gym now.
Yeah, true.
I have money on the fact that somebody is going to have a bunch of shredded grip socks, just like hanging on your favorite equipment and like rainbow colors.
Oh, God.
I would do that. I would do that for you, Corey. I would hang those grip socks just to remind you.
I think the problem with the cooking for some folks is just how I want it just easy. So it's a pot, it's a pan, it's a muffin tin. It's not a mandolin. It's not a flour duster. It's not these like weird kind of esoteric gadgets you find at like Williams Sonoma. I mean, this is going to Walmart. Boom, it's right there. Cooking machine.
I don't know, Angie. You say that, but it was a fitness instructor, not a personal trainer. So I'm just saying.
Sorry, I'm telling you, I was all over that one. No doubt about it. But they did give. No, I agree with you 100%. That was whack. That's craziness. There've been
Well,
some like that. That was a very egregious example. But they did give Spiro Cupcake Tin.
Yeah.
As a Muppet
Yeah.
fan, I was surprised. I think at that point they're just like, yeah, we're gonna throw a bone at this poor dude.
I mean, he had meat thermometer. I was like, thermometer, meat thermometer, and
That's the one thing you expect, like hetero men to know, right? No, not to profile, but it's like they grill. I like fire. I like heat. I have thermometer. Turkey baster. That's not necessarily something I might have expected him to know, but it was a fun duel. And no, you're right, Corey. I'm glad you threw that out there because
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Heidi, I totally feel profiled by Angie right now. I like smoking a lot of meat, so that's my hobby. So I'll smoke meat and record podcasts. That's my move.
All right.
Well, what's next, Heidi? What do we got
All
next?
right, moving on to the next one. So then Mia went back to the floor, and we had Greg from the randomizer, and he picked Nate, and the category was beach. What is happening here?
I was showing you my meat thermometer. We're talking about it.
God, I didn't realize.
This is my meat thermometer.
I know it looked. Yeah, it looked. Yeah,
It's like a fancy one.
Yeah, it's a digital.
Right within reach. I think it's important to never be far from your meat thermometer.
It's right there too.
It's just right there. I love it so much. Can I start at the beach? First of all, I think what did Nate say? He's like his biggest regret was like when he was up there that he didn't pull like the line from Barbie where he's like, my job is beach. Like, I'm beach. Like, pull a Ken on that because it would have been really good. Barbie was another blockbuster that came up.
Oh, that's right.
But that was
Do that and I've never seen the movie.
I think they did Barbie and then Oppenheimer right after.
That's right.
That's right. Oppenheimer.
Oh, I didn't know Oppenheimer. I missed that one because I didn't watch it. I didn't watch Oppenheimer.
You didn't watch Barbie and Oppenheimer? What's wrong with you, Brad?
Heidi, I'm pretty sure I told you the story. I downloaded Oppenheimer for my flight, Corey, and it did not download. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to watch it. But this old man was watching it like 2 rows up. And so I was watching it, just watching. It was a lot of just standing there talk the whole movie. Just there wasn't a lot of action. They're just talking. And I was watching. I was like, man, this movie looks boring. I don't think I'm going to invest into it. So I never went back.
Oh my God. What's wrong with you?
If you ever get a chance to talk to Anand about Oppenheimer, you should. Anand actually took. I'm not going to get the details correct on this. He told me the story, and I only know the main points. But he took like a 1-hour flight from one city to another to make a showing of Oppenheimer. So
wow.
We gotta have him on here just so I can address this Oppenheimer craziness that he did for 1 hour.
Oh, wow.
My ex-husband's uncle was Oppenheimer's lawyer.
Oh my gosh!
My God. What a
Didn't see this podcast going into Oppenheimer world, but hey.
Well, I have to tell you how I watched it because I watched it in an airplane also, and I had just gone to Japan. That was actually last Thanksgiving break, and I went to Hiroshima. So I learned so much about the whole thing. So I'm like, I gotta watch Oppenheimer now, and I had such a different appreciation for it because I had just gone to the area and I went to all the museums and everything. So it just took it a different level for me because I had just experienced the city there. So
wow.
Anyway.
Well, what's our next category?
All right.
Did we want to keep talking about the beach, or you want to speed it to the last one?
Well, so the beach one, Nate won that one. Wasn't Nate the one that he was like, I've been there maybe a couple times or whatever it was that he said it?
Greg said he's been to the beach once or twice.
So it was Greg who said it.
Greg lives in West Hollywood. He's going to the beach. I don't know what he's talking about.
I know. He's a California guy. How is he like?
Yeah, we did a few floor watch parties with the people in our area, and so I got to hang out with Megan and with Grace and with Greg, and with Emily, and we all watched it together. And Greg lives down the street from me. Like, he's been to the beach.
It's funny.
That's awesome. Anyway, so then we're going to number 8. We have 2 more. So Nate won that one, and then we had Trevor. who, by the way, I have to make a comment and I wrote it down: holistic spirituality. And then he has a twin. And then he says he has 11 albums. So it was like I had to write it all down because I'm like, who's this guy? I want to know. I want to get to know him. But
He has James Brown hair, by the way.
yes,
It's
100. Yes.
It's like,
And he was the one who picked Kara for the very first audio tour one. So, Angie, I'll come to you. What are your thoughts on that one?
First of all, I sat next to Trevor in our legal production downloading orientation session. It was the first time I met him, and I walked into the room and I see this guy in this crushed velvet jacket and this James Brown hair, and I'm like, okay, that dude is slick. He's got some style. There's a story here. I'm sitting next to this guy. Then that's when I found out that he and Trenton were twins, and Trenton, of course, has no hair, and they couldn't be more different in so many ways. It does not surprise me that Trevor went for it because I think he was tired of waiting around. He was getting antsy, and music's his thing. I mean, he's a performer. His brother's a dancer. They're very artistic. I was not surprised. I think Kara was a little surprised. She seemed a little less confident in that duel than she had in the previous episodes. But it's also, I think you sit there and you realize there's this target on your back. And I think she was just kind of swallowing and just kind of waiting for whoever was coming. May have thought she was going to move to episode 7 since she hadn't been touched. And then boom, he's right there. So I think it was a really good, like, anxious moment for television to see that juxtaposition.
I was sad to see Kara go because she had done so good, and I'd like to have her. I'd like to have her on here because she really won some good challenges, and I was sad to see her go.
Corey,
yeah.
Corey, did you know her? Also,
Yeah, I mean, just from the show, so when we're coming out to the floor at the beginning of the episode, they would hold back the people that have the biggest territories. And at that time, Kara and I were the two whales at the beginning of that episode. And so we stayed back while everyone went out, and then we went out after that. And so we had a moment to just kind of have that, like we were just like, this is like right now we are the floor. Like this is us. And it was really cool because I had just won Carnival Foods at the end of the last episode. And so at the start of episode 6, we just had a special moment where we just kind of bonded over being like the two biggest targets on the board at the time. Sorry, Angie, based on a true story, was no longer in contention. but we yeah, it's such a fantastic person. She's so sweet, so kind. I have nothing but positive things. I mean, to be honest, like, you could ask me that about anyone on the show. Angie would probably back me up. We all had such an amazing time with each other. And yes, Kara's just a fantastic person. If you, I mean, I'll reach out to her and I'll say, hey, you got to do this podcast.
I can get her. We had a moment early on before filming. We both were homesick. We both second guessed why we should be there. We both bailed each other out. Bonded quite a bit, and we were bus riding partners. She has a tattoo of a 4-leaf clover. I got the same tag, so we're pretty tight as well. So if you want her back on later or whatever, I'm sure between me and Corey, we can certainly extend the invitation. I'm sure she'd love it. But yeah, I'm really glad that you guys had that. I didn't know that, Corey. I didn't know about the backstage moment. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, it was sad to see her go, but Heidi, let's get to the duel of the night. Let's get to the last.
But before I say that, Brad, I have a question for Angie though, because we talked about this before, and I think it was with Claire. So Angie, is she really trained in classical piano?
Well, okay, so classically trained means that you've studied piano with an instructor, yes? And so she took piano for many years.
Okay.
Is she a concert pianist? Not to my knowledge, but
okay.
She took piano for a long time, and I believe she knows music, and of course she could identify a piano sound. But how many of us, took castanet lessons or harpsichord lessons and could really identify? I think it was tough.
I was waiting for a theremin.
But she did miss acoustic guitar, which
that was tough. That was a hard one.
I feel like that's an easy one. You go to any coffee shop, you hear acoustic guitar.
But she had guitar before, so maybe she wasn't thinking it was guitar because she says sitar and some other
She
things,
said
right?
sitar. She was thinking
She,
of
well,
other
she had ukulele and she had electric guitar. So by the time the acoustic guitar came up, she was probably like, "I have named all the strings. What is this?"
And then all the strings.
Yeah.
There are no more strings.
It
But
was
yeah,
a-
she played piano. So yeah, I don't think she wasn't one of the bluffers like
She-
like the folks we saw. I think she knew what she said she knew. Definitely.
It was a good one though. I enjoy the variety of categories just by the audio mix there, so I liked it.
Well, let's get to that last one, Heidi.
Last one. It
The,
was
the duel of the century.
it was Leah, and Leah picked Mac because Mac had the biggest, the most tiles, I guess you call them, right? Floor tiles.
Yeah.
So, and he had the time boost. What was that?
She was in a tough spot. So her only choices were beer, Disney characters, or pop stars.
Oh, I would have went Disney characters every day, man.
And if she's not a Disney person, and it's between that and pop stars, she's got a 17-year-old daughter. I think that she was getting some advice from the floor. It was the heat of the moment, the last duel of the night. The pressure's on. You got 20,000 right here. Mac just inherited it. He doesn't seem confident. Go for it.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
got pressured into it.
It was
Well,
so hard. I love
it was hard to watch. And Angie and Corey, I gotta be honest here on the show. I'm always honest, but I'm gonna say this. I would have passed on every one of them. I knew none of them. I would have pulled her. I did not know any of them. I was like, pass. Pass.
So I was very confident when Pop Stars was mine. I'm so glad I did not have to defend it because here's the thing. I am a huge Olivia Rodrigo fan. Love her music. That photo of Olivia Rodrigo, I was like, that doesn't even, and I know what she looks like, and I couldn't even tell it was her because it was just such a weird photo. And I was
I've never heard of Olivia Rodrigo, so
It was like this without makeup. Like
I was
in Us
expecting to
when they show
see-
people, you don't know who they are.
Yeah, I was expecting to see Selena Gomez. I was expecting to see Camila Cabello.
Britney Spears.
I was expecting to see Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Madonna. Like
Same.
Hello,
I-
and then you have Michael Bublé.
yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I didn't know the boobs.
Not my favorite selection of images, and I'm
You
glad
dodged
I
the
did
bullet
not.
with that one.
Well,
for
part of
sure.
me is like, I'm glad I didn't have to defend it. But if all things worked out the same and I was in Mac's position, I would have loved to defend it. So
Well, yeah, right. That's a good point. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
she got 0, so she broke the record for not getting even 1. Some of them, I'm with you. Some of them were very off, very weird. Like, who is this, or why is this person in this category? But she didn't get any of them, so that was a tough one.
Corey, I think the new rule should be if you use your time boost and you never have to speak in the duel, you get your time boost back. I feel like he burnt that time boost for nothing.
yeah.
Like, I mean, they should give it back to him. He didn't even have to come off the bench.
And everyone around him wanted that to happen. They wanted that time boost out of there.
Yeah.
And
Well,
now
that was
he
right.
has.
He was
and
kind
now he has state flags.
Yeah, you're right.
Whew.
No, you're right, Corey. It's like almost like she's a sacrificial lamb to the floor to knock Mac down just a bit and make
Yeah.
him less threatening.
But
You're 100% right about that. I hadn't thought.
but I
about
feel
that.
like state flags would be easy, Angie. I feel like that would be easy. I could be studying that in my hotel room and learn it.
Brad, so I make these Instagram reels about all the categories, right? Today I posted Star Wars cooking and musical instruments. I've got one coming up for state flags that I'm going to challenge you in thinking it's easy because I'll be honest, of all the categories on the floor, that's the one I was least wanting to duel in, and I've got some thoughts on that. But God bless if you can
Challenge accepted, Angie. Challenge
Well,
accepted.
The one thing I will say
Something
about,
Minnesota. We'll duel on your front porch at your new house in Minnesota. And then
I like that.
thermometer.
the one thing I will say about state flags, and it goes to state capitals and it goes to all the, there are finite categories where there are only so many options, and
Yeah.
and that's a memorization thing.
Yeah.
And we saw it with MLB. Like they went through the entire MLB roster, and then they had to go to the minor leagues because
Oh, that was
they're just
awful.
so on top of it. So I would be curious to see what happens. Are they going to start showing old state flags if they burn through all of them? So
Right.
I'll be so fat because if you could get through all the MLB teams, you could get through all 50 states. Like,
Oh, absolutely. Well, the state capitals is a great example of that. I think periodic tables is another one that's pretty finite in terms of what they would likely dip into or not. But the state flags, I'm telling you, there's not as much differentiation as you would
For
think.
sure.
There's
For
some
sure.
outliers that you're like, oh yeah, I got that. That's New Mexico or whatever.
Yeah, and
There's some-
Robbie, I think Robbie is hanging out in the back with state capitals, right?
Yeah, he has state
And
capitals.
I could do state capitals. I could do state
That's
capitals.
actually one that I would have, like, if I went that direction and I had to keep playing to get a time boost, state capitals was looking really good to me.
Oh, I love. I would have. I will just say that I love that category. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, she's dropping some knowledge on us right now. She's winking. She's listeners. She's
Insider
winking at me right now.
I have a sty in my eye. I'm not winking. I have a sty.
Well,
So Mac got the 20 grand in this episode. Then like he has the most. I want to say he has like 18 pieces, something like that, but I could be a little wrong here. So Brad, I pass it to you. Oh, I'm sorry, Angie. What was that?
I think you're right. I think it's 18, 17 or 18. It's a lot, right? That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Left now. Going into episode 7, 50. We're down halfway.
Wow.
And I'm not bitter at all.
well, Corey, where can we find you on the socials? Where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm a little less active on X, aka Twitter, but I do have an account. I will sometimes repost floor related content, but I'm mostly active on Instagram and TikTok. So Instagram, my handle is Corel23, so COREL23, and TikTok, it's linked on my Instagram. So if people want to check out my TikTok, mine are not as fun as Angie's reels, I will say.
Angie's pretty awesome on hers, yeah.
But yeah, I've got some. One of my videos of my cat actually went pretty successfully on TikTok. So
you had some really good travel pics in the last week or so when you were like in the caves or the caverns.
Oh yeah.
Really good.
My partner and I traveled to Utah and Arizona, and we got to hit up Antelope Valley. And if you haven't ever been to the Antelope Valley caves,
it's an amazing opportunity to catch local music.
Oh,
Are you looking for?
That was Angie.
Looking for Corey.
That was Angie.
He has a picture of his before and after. You gotta follow Corey, people. Okay.
I love the picture. I've shown that to so many people. I go, I know this guy. You see this guy? Look at this guy. He's like.
Well, I'm glad I know him now.
aw, you all are so kind.
That's incredible.
Angie, where can we find you?
Oh, I'm just at Angie_Warfield. It's my name, and I'm Mama Ange on TikTok because I started moving some stuff over there. Somebody told me, "Oh, just copy it over." I'm like, okay, that's about it though.
Keep it the same.
You're my favorite Ange on Reality Check with Heidi and Brad. I'll just throw that out there.
I love getting to come back. I'll come back anytime. You need
Yeah.
me. I have a good time with you guys. I really do.
You
You are
pinched
my
hit for
favorite-
Claire.
You are my favorite Angie from season 2 of The Floor.
And I want to just throw this out there because this has nothing to do with the floor, but Heidi, I want to just say, if y'all have ever listened to Reality Check, we talk about traders all the time. The new season's dropping in January, Heidi. It's like, I cannot wait. I just thought about you when I saw that. So maybe we should start doing some trader recaps.
Okay, we'll see. Well, because the floor is also coming early next year, so
Yes.
it's gonna be an interesting one.
It's going to be interesting. Well, I've had a blast, Heidi. I thank you, Corey, for coming on. Angie, thank you for pinch hitting for Claire, who's at her sister's wedding, ringing in a wedding. Yeah, wow.
Yes, Corey, I'm gonna get into. Corey and Angie. I told Angie I was gonna get in her DMs. I haven't done it. I'm gonna get into both of your DMs so we can chat further. I cannot wait to follow up with you both. Okay, and Angie, we're still cheering for you to win.
That's an honor.
Angie.
Thank you.
Angie, who can we have on next time for next week? Who can you get us?
You know what, Brett? I told you my goal was to meet and greet every single soul. I don't think there's a single person I couldn't get you if you wanted them. I think
Well, we have your number, so I'll be messaging you and seeing who you can get.
Mac would be fun. I mean, Mac just came off a big run just like Corey did. I think Mac would be full of enthusiasm.
Let's get him. Can we get Mac? Let's get Mac.
I'll hook you up. Okay, no worries.
Let's get Mac and let's get Cara on the same show, and we can figure this out together.
Be excellent. I'll reach out to both of them for you. No worries.
Thank you, guys. My name is Brad. She's Heidi. That's Corey and Angie. We will see you next week on episode 7 of the Floor Recap Reality Check with Heidi and Brad.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Corey.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Corey.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. That was